Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. Today's guest is Katie Krimitsos. Katie Krimitsos is a mom, wife, adventurer, podcaster, and seeker. She's committed to brightening the light of women around the world through the Women's Meditation Network, guided meditations and resources that are specifically created with the special journey of women in mind. I thought today's quote was so appropriate for today's episode. Breath is the power behind all things. I breathe in and know that good things will happen. Tao Borkin Lynch. Just talking with Katie today. Her voice is just so calming. You guys are going to love this episode. It's pretty unique and different from anything I've done. And Katie is going to provide an actual meditation for us, which her meditations are beyond brilliant. Today we talked about being where your feet are, the magic in being present so you can focus, taking a moment to breathe. She teaches us how to breathe and use our breath to bring calm, and quieting the noise, all the outside noise, so you can hear your voice within and leaning into that voice, and how important that is to creating your own life. She believes as women, we should create our own life. And one of the most important, I thought, was getting in nature so you can get connected and get grounded during these times, and being strategic, being strategic about what info you're taking in. Go outside, take in the info that nature is giving you. Yes, be informed, but don't fill your mind with gloom and doom and fear. This is an amazing episode today, you guys. You're going to love it. I am beyond excited to welcome Katie Krimitsos to the show today. Yay!
Hey, Linda. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, I am so excited. Meeting you at PodFest was so cool. You sat right down at my table, and I was like, this lady is just glowing with health and vibrance and something a little deeper that comes from within.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And as soon as I heard what you do and I heard of the Sisterhood of Sweat, I was like, oh, I need to know that lady.
Oh, it was so cool. The whole event was amazing. I enjoyed speaking. I enjoyed meeting all the speakers and listening. It was what I really liked about it, besides you had great speakers, by the way, was it felt like a family.
Yeah, that is very intentional. My husband is the founder of PodFest, and so I can tell you from a very unique standpoint, it is a very big, deep desire and intention that he does this, and every little logistical detail that happens behind the scenes in order for the event itself to happen is 100% always answering the question, how can I make this an amazing experience for every attendee? So I'm really glad that you got that feeling, because that is very, very much on the forefront of his mind as he creates it.
And I truly felt like you guys cared about the people there. And I love the fact that so many people's PodFest was gifted to them.
Yeah. He does a pay it forward campaign that happened organically, I think in the second or third year that PodFest happened, where one of our attendees was just like, hey, I'd like to buy a ticket for somebody who comes to you and tells you that they want to go, but they can't afford it. So I'll just do that. And Chris was really impacted by that. And he's like, yeah. And he asked a couple of us, he's like, hey, would you want to do this too? So like that first year, there was probably about half dozen to a dozen of us who said, yeah, we'll buy an extra ticket. And whoever can't come because of finances, now they can come. And that whole program just caught fire. So I don't know how many people were part of that program this year, but every year it gets bigger, which I love, because now you have the community supporting itself and saying, hey, yes, I'm going to buy a ticket, and I'm going to buy a ticket for somebody else who may need it.
Well, I mean, it was just proof in the pudding at the end. How you guys ended PodFest was very heartwarming and touching, with all of the customers of PodFest getting up and sharing their gratitude for the event.
Yeah. And that also happened organically in those first, I think it was like the second or third year of Podfest where, things were about closing up. And that was a year that we had like 150 people there, 180 people. So it was
Yeah.
very different than the, I think, 1,500 that we had this year.
Yes.
And,
That was huge.
back then, like one person in particular just felt so compelled, like Chris was sort of closing the show and one person came up and was like, can I say something? And they just kind of went on this short little description of what they're so grateful for, and it had been really impactful. And one by one people started lining up just saying that they were so grateful. It moved me to tears how
Yes.
amazing that was.
Right.
And every year he was like, oh my God, we got to end this way, this is amazing.
Yeah, it definitely moved me to tears, and it was very touching. I just felt that it spoke to the fact that each person felt important in your environment, which is big when you have 1,500 people.
Yeah, it's very, very big. The biggest piece of feedback that he often gets is like, or concern, I should say, is like, how are you going to grow and still make this feeling of intimacy happen? And he said, the more great people we have and the more intentional we are, the more we feel connected. So it's about what intention and how you're building it from the inside
And
out and the
from the
people that you're
top,
bringing.
right? Like, because the intention trickles down, I think.
Absolutely, 100%. So
I
I'm
love
so glad
that.
that you had that experience there. That makes me really
Yeah, it
happy.
was so great. And I just really enjoyed giving my speech. And it was all about why I go to the mattresses for a great guest.
I loved it.
Yeah, so I really have to say I was excited to have you on because I consider you to be one of those people. And you are here at a crucial key time.
Yeah.
It couldn't be any more perfect if I designed it myself. Like, I mean, I'm just like, this is like, wow, we are in the midst of chaos. And
Yeah.
I have you who leads the Women's Meditation Network.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So the Women's Meditation Network podcast has been around for about a year and a half now. And it is literally just for an entire library of free guided meditations. They're relatively short, anywhere from 5 minutes to maybe 20 at the most. And so they're deliberately designed for women's lives that typically are pretty busy. But these allow you to kind of like get them in your day or in your life in a way that suits you. And the themes of the meditations, the topics of the meditations are very specific to the lives of women. And even though every one of us are very, very different and very unique and are walking our own journeys, there's really this collective experience of women that that I love being able to speak to, and I love being able to provide resources for. So some of those meditations are things like mommy needs a timeout meditation,
Yeah, I hear you.
a 5 minute pause meditation, visualizing your goals meditation for the women, for those of us who are really like big, ambitious, like let's do some big things, connect to the goddess within, you're in a fight with your spouse, pregnancy meditation. And then obviously recently with all of the, just very, very stressful stuff going on in the world with the coronavirus, I have started putting out coronavirus specific meditations to really help deal with and manage all of the emotions and anxiety and stress and uncertainty that is coming up right now for people. So there are a handful of coronavirus specific meditations on there, how it's impacting your work, just dealing with the anxiety when you can't sleep, all those sorts of things.
I listened to it today while I was getting my hair done.
Yeah. I hope it calmed you down.
Oh my gosh, she's like rubbing my head. I'm like listening to this meditation. I'm like, your voice is tranquil. It's like a drug. I'm
Thank
serious.
you. Thank you.
I was just blown away by it, and I couldn't believe it was free. I'm
Yeah.
like, you should be charging for it.
Well, I appreciate that first off. And I'm a businesswoman. And so it's, I have a business model behind what I'm doing. equally, because I believe both of these things live together in true prosperity, I equally want to give and I want to receive. And so the business model behind the meditation, the Women's Meditation Network, number one right now is through advertisers. So yes, it's a free meditation and you're listening to an advertisement for a really great product or service that I really believe in at the front end of that. And I also have some paid products on my website. So you can get access to meditation bundles around certain topics. So there's, a peaceful sleep bundle. There's a stress relief bundle. There's actually a coronavirus meditation bundle coming out here soon. And then I have like a 7-day meditation challenge. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that support and are a part of the holistic business that I'm doing and the holistic purpose that I'm doing, which is let me provide a lot of free content. And for those who want more, I have more for you.
I mean, I have the Calm app, but I just want to tell you, you blew me away. I'm serious. I was like, this is gold. This is good stuff. So I'm really excited for all of you listeners out there, because Katie is going to provide one of her meditations. We're going to include it today in the episode. So if you need some calm, that should help. But what other kind of tips can you give everybody out there to help calm their minds in this troubling time?
Yes, I'm so glad that you asked me that. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that are very easy and very quick to do. So the very first is just to do calming tasks that you would normally do more mindfully. And I'll give you an example and share a little bit more about what that means. So for example, if you are, in your house, probably cleaning a lot right now or reorganizing or whatever it is, or doing gardening or picking up stuff or doing projects, simply be more mindful, which means to make sure that you're being very present in the moment. If you are folding laundry, fold the laundry. If you're raking up leaves, rake up leaves. Whatever, if you're gardening, garden, like just be there with the dirt, feel the dirt on your hands, feel the, whatever you have in your hands. Like the purpose of doing that is that it allows you to be present. And when you're present with what is, the flowers in your hands, the dirt under your fingernails, the whatever it is, you cannot be focused on all of the other stuff going on. So that would be my number one tip, is just to do the things that you're doing now more mindfully so that you can make yourself come into the present moment. Okay. The second thing that I would recommend is to actively do breath work. And if you're not familiar with that term, really what that means is just taking your attention and focusing on your breath and playing with your breath, like really allowing yourself to play with breath in a way that is helpful for you. So
it's so calming.
Yeah, it's so calming. And we forget because, our breath happens voluntarily. So typically in kind of the normal humdrum of life, we breathe pretty shallowly. Like we breathe in our upper chest and we're breathing really short, shallow breaths. So even as you're listening to this right now, do me a favor and just take a deep breath in. And instead of breathing into your chest, breathe into your belly and imagine that your belly was like a big balloon and you want to fill it up with air. And do that for as long as you can. And then breathe out again and breathe it all the way out. And just doing a couple deep breaths like that into your belly does a couple of things. It invites in oxygen into the deep parts of your body, which has very physiological impact. Like I promise you, if you have not done deep breaths and deep belly breaths recently, doing 5 to 10 of those will get your body tingling a little bit because your belly or your body is now feeling the impact of that oxygen coming in. The other thing that it'll do is it starts to actually slow you down. And this is so important, especially when our minds are racing with all of the things right now, right? They're racing with, news headlines. They're racing with the what ifs. They're racing with what does your day need to be like today? And what do you need to plan for tomorrow? How can you plan? All the worries, right? So as your mind's racing, all of that stuff is very fast. And so breathing deeply and using that as sort of a pattern interrupt to start focusing on the breath forces things to slow down. All of a sudden you can actually start to hear your heartbeat, and you can probably feel like maybe it's racing a little faster, and you can tell, wow, my breath really wants to slow down my heartbeat. So let me focus on that. Okay. And it's, you don't have to take 100 deep breaths in a row, but maybe take 2 or 3 or 4, and then start just breathing naturally again, and start playing with your breath. Just be attentive to your breath. And one really great tool that I love using that's so simple is to silently in your mind hear yourself say, breathe in every time you breathe in, and breathe out every time you breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Just for your normal breath. Breathe in, breathe out. And what that does is it acts like a mantra. So now your mind is starting to focus on breathe in, breathe out, instead of all of the things. So again, it does that same thing. It pulls you into the present moment, and the physiological effects of deep breath and breath work and being attentive to your breath really like calms your body down. Those are 2 very, very powerful things that you could do. And the last one that I would give that, may or may not be challenging for some people right now, because there are a lot of outside spaces being shut down right now as we talk in this moment. But I would still recommend any way you can to get out in nature. Get out in nature, take a walk, be in your backyard, stand in front of your front door, stick your head out your window if you need to, whatever it is, for a couple of reasons. Number one, so you could just remind yourself how connected and interconnected we really are to the earth, to everything around us, and be very present with it. Like, look at the tree and notice the flowers, and really take a moment to recognize, like, that tree was there yesterday. It's here today. It'll probably be here tomorrow. And like little thoughts like that really shift us very beautifully out of the panic mode, right?
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
oh my gosh, Armageddon's happening. Well, you know, go on a walk, look at the grass. The grass was there yesterday. It's here right now. It's probably going to be there tomorrow, and it helps with that fear and the anxiety of it. So those are 3 really easy and really important things that I feel will massively shift whatever energy you're in right now.
And I love that, you guys. She said, basically, be where your feet are, you
Yep.
know, be where you are instead of all these other places in your head,
Yeah.
and to work on your breath. And then I believe going outside is grounding. It keeps you
Yes.
grounded and connected to the earth, like you
Yep.
said. And if you listen to my podcast with Clint Aubert, he talks all about grounding, and it's a real science.
It's very real. Go barefoot, go outside and stand in some grass or dirt, or on the wherever you can. Like,
Yeah, it's real.
there's very real energy that gets exchanged there. So
Yes.
use it now.
Absolutely. And so I today will have to attest to what you said about the grounding and going outside, because I was listening to, like everybody else, the newscast of what today was bringing, because it's been a new thing every day. It's moving so fast. And you could have that in your head, and the terror and the panic and the chaos of what next is going to happen. Or like when I went outside, it was a beautiful sunny day, and
I
I'm
know.
like, oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful out,
Yeah.
and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Like, I don't know, just that reassurance of nature.
It's, you know what it is too, Linda? It's the juxtaposition of what we're seeing on the news or ingesting from all the stories, and actually what is around us. So they're so different.
Right.
Like, and so, definitely there's a tip of, be strategic about how you're taking in your information right now. I'm not telling you to like not look at anything,
You
but
need to know what's going
you need
on.
to know
Right.
what's going on. But maybe you have, like, I have text messages that get sent to me from my
Yeah.
city. So like that's pretty much the only thing that I need to keep up on. Like if there's real big city stuff that I need to know, like I'm keeping updated on that. And then, my husband is ingesting the news that he needs to, the way that he does. And then he'll hear bits and pieces from it. And that's it. I don't want to hear it from anywhere else. I'm not out there searching for it. I don't have anything on. My friend Erica Mandy has the Newsworthy podcast, which is amazing. I would highly recommend it. It's totally fair. It's not all hype. It's 10 minutes of news. And she's definitely covering the coronavirus stuff going on right now. So, will listen to that in the morning and then boom, I'm done. I don't need to listen anymore. And, you know, so we hear all of that stuff, and then I'm going on a walk, and there's, you know, understandably so, there's families out playing with their kids right now, and
Oh yeah.
people are going on walks, and, you know, everyone's kind of staying to themselves, but there are people out right
Oh
now
yeah.
outside, and it's gorgeous outside, and the fish are still swimming in the, you know, in the bay. And so it's like your brain's having this massive, like, you know, juxtaposition of like, okay, that's telling me the world's coming to an end. And yet here, like, everything's actually kind of functioning and it's okay. So it's a matter of like getting yourself in those moments.
Right, right. And my animals are like loving that I'm home a little more. I
This
have
is
two
really,
fur babies.
oh, this is really going to, I mean, it's obviously impacting everyone's work right now, no matter if you already were used to working from home and online, or, you know, if you're going into somewhere. But like, this is, I think this, you know, it's definitely reshifting how people are doing things, and what our priorities are in this moment, because
Oh,
there's
right.
so much we don't have control over.
Right. And I think focus on what you can control, and
Yep.
just focus on the small things that you can focus on right now,
Yeah.
and not on what you can't control.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I love it. Now, you started this, you were a women's business network before?
Yeah. So I had a business and podcast called Biz Women Rock. And I had started that back in 2014. So I have been, you know, in the podcasting space for about 6 years. And I had been a business owner for years before that. And so that business for many years was a very successful, pretty much online based business where I was a strategic coach for business women. So any woman
I love that.
entrepreneur who owned her own business, they hired me, or they became part of my masterminds, or they joined a program that I had, or, you know, came to a live retreat that I had, or were just a general part of my community. And I got to support them by helping them build very, very intentional businesses, like not just businesses for the sake of being, you know, whatever 6 or 7 figure that they wanted, but like, no, let me build a business that actually is something that I love doing. And I've created around the lifestyle that I want. And it's helping the people that I want to help. So yeah, I did that for many years. And then when we found out we were pregnant with our second in April of 2018, it just changed everything for me. Like I all of a sudden was looking at this very successful business going, I don't think I want this anymore. So what else? Like what do I want? And actually, you know, I know we're talking about meditation as a tool for, you know, to connect to calm and to connect to centeredness that we all really need right now. And I one of the biggest benefits that I love touting about meditation is using it as a tool to declutter everything else, no matter what time we're in, no matter what's going on in the world, so that we can actually start hearing our own true voice. We can actually
Oh, that is beautiful.
start,
Yeah.
yeah, we can actually start listening to her and saying like, and you know, you might call this intuition, you might call it, oh, I'm getting a hit of something, you might call it like my just inner wisdom, my soul speaking to me, whatever language you use. It's really like that voice that you know is you. It's not the ego. It's not talking to you out of fear. It's not talking to you out of, you know, what you should do or the scripts that you should follow. It's talking to you about what's right for you. And so I love talking about this benefit of it as it relates to what we're going through right now, because so many of us are kind of getting in positions where we need to make some decisions. Some are small, some are big. And, you know, if you really want to be making decisions that are in line with what is best for you and your family right now, that's the space to go to. That's the space to make decisions from, not a space of fear and what if and what should I do and what's everyone telling me I should do. And, you know, outside of this particular situation currently, that's how I ended up transitioning into the Women's Meditation Network, was just using meditation, using journaling, getting clear on like, what do I really want right now? And that's when the idea of the Women's Meditation Network came about, without me figuring out what I was going to do about Biz Women Rock yet. I was like, I could totally see this as the next generation of what I really want to do and how I really want to make an impact. And it has a business model that is a lot more flexible, gives me time freedom, that I wasn't showing up live for clients at certain times and didn't have to worry about rescheduling if a kid got sick. But, and over the course of about a year and a half, it was a lot of just coming back to what's the next right move for me? What's the next right thing for me? And eventually, little by little, I was able to really pare down on that business, on Biz Women Rock, eventually actually put it on sabbatical. Like I don't offer that business anymore at all. And really just focus on mommying and the Women's Meditation Network full time.
And I love that you made that transition, because we're not stuck in cement. We can evolve as we need to, and we can evolve during this virus too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes an immense amount of courage to listen, not only listen to that voice, but do something, do whatever she says you're hearing, and it takes some courage to do that. And if you're hearing okay, just a small little example, don't go to my parents' house right now. I had a friend tell me, she's like, I really feel like I just need to hunker down with my kids. And even though my parents are available, I really feel like I need to stay home and I need to protect them. I need to protect us. They're caring for their parents. And I just want to make sure that I'm not putting anyone at risk or them putting us at risk.
Putting them at risk.
But it's like small decisions like that it's right for your family, you know? So you'll know what's right. And so you need to make those decisions. What's right. So you need to make those decisions according to what you feel you're hearing inside.
And just being less judging of yourself right now.
I mean, immense amount of grace and compassion, not only for yourself, but for everyone else who's dealing with this in their own way that they need to deal with it.
Right. Let everybody deal with it in their own way and have empathy for each other. And some good things can come out of it. We can all come together, even if we have to be 6 feet apart, we can come together and make this thing work. Like they used to in the pioneer days when they all built a house, like they built your house for free. How are we ahead of that day? No. Yeah.
Well, it's been really, believe me, that we're not out of any of this yet. And so as in the moment that we're talking, it's very real. There are plenty of things to look at and feel very devastated and feel very depressed about everything happening. And also, I am completely overwhelmed by the folks who are showing up, having nothing but a really deep desire to do the right thing and to shine light in any way that they can. I just spoke with 2 women yesterday who are in a couple of days, starting for 6 weeks, every day for 6 weeks, they're going to be providing free live guided meditations for kids, at a certain time every single day, because all of us parents are home with our kids kind of searching for activities. And I know probably another 10 versions of that happening right now, not just meditations, but hey, I'm showing up to read bedtime stories. Hey, I'm showing up live to, do ABCs with your kids. And then, obviously there's a lot of meditations, I'm doing live meditations right now every day on my Instagram. I have probably wonderful. I have 5 other cohorts of friends who are doing the same thing. Even the businesses locally I had, I am seeing so much love happening right now without there being a thought about money. Because what I know to be true, and the message that I keep hearing is, do the right thing, shine the light, everything else will take care of itself. Do the right thing, shine the light, everything else will take care of itself. Because there's real stress about money for all of us. And do the right thing, shine the light, everything will take care of itself. I'm hearing stories of the local, little mini kind of neighborhood grocery store who a friend of mine had gone to try and get toilet paper and there wasn't any. And she's been there so many times that she talks to the owner all the time and there wasn't any. So he drove over to her house later that day and gave her what he had from his house. Just want to make sure you've got stuff, and had a couple of other supplies. I literally have heard at least 6 dozen of those stories, which just make my heart feel so happy for who we are.
I love that. It makes my eyes sting a little bit. Yes,
Yeah.
because that's the kind of things that you see in times like these that it just reminds you of what humanity is all about.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our listeners out there have never meditated. They're busy
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. They have umpteen kids. How does one begin to start meditating?
Oh, that's such a good question. Um, the very first thing that I would say is just to decide that you're going to start. That's a, you know, you're a very goal oriented woman. I know the women listening are, and that's how every goal begins is you decide that you're going to go for something. It's a small step, but it's a very big step. So once you decide, um, now it becomes a matter of just find a very easy resource. I'm a big proponent of meditations, guided meditations, because you don't have to put any thought into it. You don't have, like, the very first time I ever tried to meditate, I sat quiet. This was, I was 19 years old, and there definitely wasn't my iPhone with, a meditation podcast back then. So I was sitting on my bed trying to be in the perfect lotus position, and I like threw my papers across or whatever I had, or my pillow, like I threw something across the room after about like 45 seconds, because I was like, my mind is not clear, this is so frustrating. So number one, like, get some help, and so guided meditations are a really great option to that. On the Women's Meditation Network, there are over 90 free guided meditations. So literally you could choose anyone that suits your temperament at that time. And then just, it sort of works the same way as like having a personal trainer or a workout program, and that you're pressing play on, or that your trainer is telling you to do. Like, you could be the best athlete in the world, but you still benefit from not needing to think about what the program is and just showing up and doing it, right? It's that same concept. And then I would just say, keep practicing it. Let go of a lot of what I consider myths about meditation, which are in your preconceived notions about meditation, which are you have to meditate every day at the exact same time for an hour in order to be a real meditator. And that's just not true. You can meditate whenever you feel like it. It could be an extra 5 minutes that you spend in your car before you go into the house. You don't need to meditate in any particular place. If you have a space that you like, great. But anything that you could take away that feels like I should do this in order for me to then go meditate, like, get away from all that. You don't need to sit in a perfect lotus position. And for those of you who don't know, that's like, cross-legged with your back super erect and your hands on your knees. Like, like, you don't need to do that. Like, sit down on a couch in your most comfy, space on your couch or your chair. Even lay down, use a meditation to go to sleep. Like, just allow yourself to play with it. That's what I really tell people. Like, find guided meditations and allow yourself to play, and let go of everything else. Like, go over your expectations. Your mind is not going to be free of thought for 20 minutes, definitely not an hour, or for 5 minutes, really, even. I've been meditating for 23 years now, and I still have just moments, little brief moments of that space. And I'm constantly, wanting more of it. I know how to get there a lot faster than I did 23 years ago. But, that's why they call it a practice, because there's no such thing as being done and being perfect at it. So I would just say commit to it, find guided meditations, press play, and keep practicing it.
Well, I know the first time I tried to meditate, I didn't last very long, but I've been teaching yoga for umpteen years. So what I found was, when I did a really hard yoga class and I heated up and I built up and I got down to the stretching and then I got down to the end corpse. I could
Yeah.
meditate real good.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
my mind was clear.
that's actually how I was introduced to meditation in the first place when I was 18 years old, as I was taking a yoga class, and I had never known about it, heard about it before then. And it was, Shavasana at the end. And, the teacher took us through a guided meditation. I was like, oh, that felt amazing. I want more of that.
We should get together next year at Podfest, and I should teach one of my yoga sweat classes, and you should do the breath work and like the whole guided meditation for
Let's do
everybody.
it. Let's do it.
I could totally see that being so great.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do that.
When I have meditated in the past, it literally just kind of transforms your peace of mind. Like if you're going to, do anything that maybe gets your nerves unsettled, like speak or perform in any way, or you're going to ask your boss for a raise. I just think that having that mindset piece with the meditation just really helps to center you.
It's huge. It's just so huge. And I love it as a tool that you can call upon so easily and quickly. Like I said, it doesn't need to, if you're feeling stressed out or you're about to go walk into and have a hard conversation with somebody, you don't need to go to your meditation pillow at your house in order to get centered. Like, no, stop, sit in your car, take a couple of breaths, maybe put on a guided meditation if you really want to or need to. But even just stopping, if anyone asks my definition of what meditation actually is, I have a very broad definition of it. Meditation to me is the pause. It's literally the pause. We're always in movement. We're always either thinking, moving, doing. And so when we pause, no matter how that looks, that doesn't need to look. I consider walking like you can do walking meditation, moving meditations. But it's literally the pause, the opportunity to just stop and be and kind of jostle yourself out of the normal rigmarole of everything. And just that, and taking, a couple deep breaths, just that will allow you to go into that hard conversation so much more present and so much more grounded, and maybe even with an idea of an opportunity that might make that, that conversation easier.
And I find when I run outdoors, that's when I meditate the most. For me, that is when all of my juices flow, my ideas come, when I'm running in nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Running is so powerful, as there's like a rhythm. There's a physical rhythm. You can hear your heartbeats. You can hear your breath. Like, I actually really enjoy running without any music on or anything.
Right.
Because I love hearing the natural rhythm of my body. I love hearing the natural, noises of nature around me. Yeah, it's absolutely powerful.
How important do you think it is to tune out all of the noise, to be able to tune within?
I mean, I think it's vital. I think it's vital. I am a very big proponent, and this is probably the biggest reason why I even created the Women's Meditation Network. I'm a very big proponent of women creating and designing their own lives.
Oh yeah.
Instead
you are
of
to the choir here.
I know. Instead of, oh, there's a script that I'm supposed to follow, whether we consciously know it that or not, or there's expectations that others or even myself has of me. And I do believe that meditation is one of, there are many tools, but I do believe that meditation is a powerful tool to listen to that inner voice. And when you courageously take action on what she's telling you, you start to deconstruct the design that's already out there for you and the expectations, and you start to construct your life according to what you want, according to what your heart really is, according to what your purpose really is and your desires really are. And nothing but good comes from that. And I think that requires being able to distinguish between the noise and the voice, the noise and the voice. And any way that you can make that happen is really powerful. And the more that you can practice it, because I've been doing this long enough where I can hear the noise. And I'll give you a very practical example of this. And this is not coronavirus specific, but this is like real life specific, and our everydayness of life. But like, my husband and I were, got into a little tiff the other day, and it was just uncomfortable. Like, it's that, like, we're not saying the right things to each other. We're not in flow is pretty much what I call it. And my ego which is the word that I'm going to use to describe that noise, is telling me, oh, I want to say this. I want to say this. I want to react this way, right? That's the noise. He's doing this. And I'm telling all these stories about what he's doing to me and how I need to react to it and what a, douchebag he's being or whatever. And I know that that's noise. And what I always come back to, and this, I swear this is like the number one reason why I feel like I have a very strong marriage. Not that it's been, perfect and pretty by any means all of these years, but I feel like it will always be strong because there's times where I give into the noise and I choose out
Yeah.
of ego to react,
Yes.
definitely.
Correct.
But most of the time, I can distinguish that noise and then I can come back into hearing the voice, which is always, always made out of love. And in love, from love, I don't care about keeping score. I don't care
Right.
about who apologized first. I don't care about what he said, she said. I care about my husband and the man that I know him to be and our relationship and this sacred thing that we've created together. And I mean, you want to talk about immediate repairs to some tough situations in our
Right.
relationship? That's where it comes from.
And I really hear you on that. It was some deep stuff. I think quieting out all of the noise that is there is a lot of the times we listen too much to the noise, which causes us not to be authentic because we're worried about what people think. We may be worried about how our spouse wants us to be, our parents, our friends. It's when you quiet out that noise and you get within that you could hear your authentic self and your heart and what your heart says. And when you live from that place, like you said, that's love. And it teaches you not to absorb, but to observe versus that whole react, how you get that reaction.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
true. So good.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. This has been so good today. This is the juice today.
This is the juice. This is the good stuff. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I
oh.
love these conversations. And I would say for anyone listening right now, we're taking this concept so deep and applicable in like some really deep ways. And, it applies to everything right now. Everything, right? If you need to decide, if there are some actions that you're taking, look, straight up with everything going on right now, my parents were here for a good chunk of time while all this was starting to get really serious. They're now, flew back home. But, there were like 4 adults and 2 kids in my house. And we're all like, by that last day or the second to last day, I was biting my mom's head off and, everyone's just short with each other. Everyone wants their own space. And thankfully, when you really do this work to find self and to uncover self, then within seconds, I can turn around after yelling at my mom and saying something really mean to her. I can turn around and be like, Mom, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm feeling really irritated right now. And I know that that's me being uncomfortable and scared right now. And, worried that you guys aren't comfortable. And she's like, and immediately, it's just like, it goes immediately from all the stuff to heart. And she's like, I know we're there too, Katie.
Yeah, and I
So,
think you start to recognize what are the real things that matter, what is really important,
yeah.
and trivial stuff that you can just let roll off your back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Well, I am very excited that we're going to be able to offer to everybody your meditation
Yes.
and for the coronavirus. And I want everybody to leave a review and write in and let Katie and I know how much you enjoyed it. Make sure you get her podcast name. The name again of the podcast is
Women's Meditation
Yeah.
Network. And whatever, wherever you're listening to this podcast, just go search for it and you can subscribe there.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to get all these free meditations that I pay big bucks for on the Calm app. I hate to say it, but
yeah, it's all good.
So thank you so much for coming on today. And I just want to acknowledge you for being so in touch with what my audience needs to hear.
Well, thank you so much, Linda. It's been such an honor to be here and have this conversation.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening to the Sisterhood of Sweat. Bye, everybody.